Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. This is Perpetuality. You join me here for yet another video. I have here the Allure Manual Wind Chronograph. It is from a French brand called Depancel, and what they do are French racing chronographs that have that aesthetic or nod to the past. Think of old Panhard chronographs or even a bit of Hoyer. Now, I wouldn't be too far off to say that if you opened up a 1960s motorsport magazine, within the first few pages you'd see adverts for chronographs that look exactly like this. This is a bi-compax layout, meaning that you have two sub-dial registers, a very sharp orange running chronograph hand, and it is a exceptionally simple but rather nice looking watch. Let's get on to the details. The crown itself has this orange anodized ring. It is hexagonal shape, which is a bit of an odd shape for a crown. It does have about 50 meters of water resistance, and it is a push-pull crown at that. I'll say that I wish it was a conventional shaped crown, but this is the brand's motif, design motif, and it is an attractive looking crown that pairs well with the orange running chronograph hand. Taking a look at the side of the case, you are met with conventional horizontal brushwork that is broken up by this screwed in plaque that has the serial number of the watch. Now, I personally would have left this out as a design choice, but I can respect that it is done well. It is flat with the rest of the case, meaning it doesn't stick out, and it seems to be done with a high quality of detail. The rest of the watch is brushed at the top of the flanks of the lugs, and there's only a polished chamfer that separates the top side of the case with the stepped bezel. Mind you, the case is about 13 millimeters thick, which is reasonable for a manual wind chronograph at this price point of around $650 US. At the top is a very mild domed sapphire crystal that sits just above the bezel ring. Flipping the watch around, you're greeted with an exhibition case back that features a very common movement, that is the Seagull ST1901 movement. It's a manual wind chronograph, 45 hours of power reserve, beats at 21,600 vibrations per hour. This does not have the swan neck regulator, and it is a very simple movement when you look at it from a chronograph perspective. It is an attractive movement. It is visually striking with those blue screws, and you can see the finishing of the top plates of the movement. However, I will say that most of the finishing is done and stamped on. It is not machined on. So mind you, it is done to a affordable price point, and this is what you're getting. The watch is accompanied with a blue and orange contrast stitching micro perforated calf grain leather strap. That's a mouthful. It is a generously thick leather strap that is a good match to the watch being at 13 millimeters thick, and seeing how the lugs are shaped, it's a good pairing with the thickness of the strap. On the back is a very soft suede, almost Alcantara-like material. If I mispronounced that, please let me know. It has these quick release spring bars to assist in swapping out straps quite quickly, and it is a 20 millimeter, which would mean that it's relatively easy to find a good strap for this watch, seeing as 20 millimeters is quite common. It has this contrast French motif stitching done on the top side of the strap, the shorter side that is, and I have to say that the hardware is robust, thick, generously weighted, feels like it's quality. Typically speaking, I've not been impressed with the Lume application or brightness within chronograph watches. It's usually a bit of an afterthought, but here Depancel has used C3 Super Lume Nova, which has pretty good brightness, and this is shortly after being lit up with a UV torch. I'd have to say that the Lume application and the amount of it is average here. It is great, pretty much better than average, but not spectacular. I must admit that most of the visual appeal and interest of this watch has to do with its dial, and Depancel has done extremely well here in my opinion. At the center you have vertical brushing, met with an upper tier of concentric brushing on the outside ring, then also a running minute track, and on the outer scale is a tachymeter scale, mind you, that is done internally within the dial. Then you will see that they have gone with old radium dial markers, and they have been done very well. I have to say the printing, the execution of the concentric brushwork within the subdials, which is absolutely beguiling when you see the different contrasting levels of finish work done on the dial, especially at this very affordable price point. Now the watch measures in at around 39 millimeters wide for the case and a very generous 46 millimeters lug-to-lug length. On my 6.5 inch wide wrist, it is comfortable. I have to say that it's just the appropriate scale for those that are, let's say, on the smaller side of 6 inches all the way up to about 7.5 inches of wrist size. You'll find that this watch should be relatively comfortable and in good proportions too. It really does remind me of old 60's chronograph in size and scale, and that 13mm case thickness is awfully slender considering that this is a chronograph. My complaint with the comfort of this watch has to do with the thicker strap. It will take time for this strap to conform to your wrist, meaning that you'll have to put it on a watch roll and let it sit there for a bit of time for it to conform. I want to address the elephant in the room, and that is this is a chronograph that has an ST1901 movement. There are watches from other micro brands such as Studio Underdog, Hemel that use this movement. It is a popular movement with plenty of parts to service it. Now, some of you might argue that you can get this movement for a lot less, but I have to say that Depancel has done a great job of marrying all the great qualities that make a striking chronograph here. Considering that this gets you all of that 60s appeal for that classic chronograph experience of the 60s, you can't really go wrong with this. Now, if you liked today's video, please consider subscribing, liking the video, commenting, and I will catch you within the next video. Thank you.